Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered Call-In Show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest Scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy.
Hello. How are you on this wonderful, great Monday? It's May 8th, man. We 5 months into this whole year. I mean, it's good, y'all. It's good. Well, here's the deal. First and foremost, welcome to the Unfiltered Show where we talk about Agile, Scrum, entrepreneurship, all these kind of things, right? Dang, I was supposed to send somebody some information today and I forgot. So I gotta apologize to them. Here's the deal. Today's show is going to be about scaling frameworks, right? That crush nightmares. That's what we're going to talk about today. And it's going to be a really interesting, good show because we do got some things to cover. We talked about nightmares last week, and we're going to go ahead and make sure we get deep down. Well, we can't get deep because I got to talk about several of them, right? Um, so that being said, if you've never been to the show before, it's real easy. We answer your questions about Scrum, about Agile in general. Pretty much about 15 to 20 minutes after is when we'll open up the lines for you to ask questions. And you can drop those questions in the chat, or you are welcome to actually join the show. Come on the show and ask whatever question you have, right? So we can actually do either or. Just know that people will take priority if they call in, right? And it's a digital call in. You just be on the screen with me. Most people don't want to do that, but otherwise, just drop your questions in the chat. That being said, make sure you say hi. Drop a hi in the chat. Drop something in the chat. Let me know you out there, right? Let me know you out there. Y'all, in the past 24 going on 48 hours, man, I probably have done 17 to 20 hours worth of driving. Crazy, right? But, it just is what it is, right? So I've done all that driving and I made sure that I made it back so I can have this kind of conversation with you. Does that make sense? I need to have this kind of conversation with you, right? So that being said, let me other than that, I'm good, man. I'm tired, but I'm good. I'm tired, but I'm good, right? And just because I'm tired don't mean the show don't go on. So we just gonna rock it. So let me make sure that I got my stuff up and I'm gonna say hey to those people that are out there today. So hey Patrick. I don't see anybody else dropping anything in the chat. How you doing, Patrick? It's always good to see you, brother. Just always pluses. And then other people will trickle in as they trickle in, which is perfectly fine and it's perfectly all right with me. Um, we have had probably during this year a lot of people be really concerned about scaling, right? And so it's one of those topics that can't say that I hate to talk about, but that we are going to definitely talk about today. So what I'm going to do just kind of is get us going straight into that topic, right? Whoever shows up, shows up. This will be available for for you to actually see it later anyway. But let's just kind of get started, right? Let's get started. Um, it's an interesting thing because I've been around Scrum for a period of time. Most of you all know it's been a nice period of time for me. Since 2005. One of the issues that was always an issue was, what do you do when you're working with more than one team? Okay. And it's really an answer that a problem that nobody was really dealing with. There was a few dealing with it, but nobody was truly dealing with it in a way that gained any steam, until, the Scaled Agile Framework came out. And we'll talk about that, right? I think Les was around already. But realistically, nobody was really thinking about solving that problem. So, how do you take something that requires a lot of people and deliver it using this Scrum stuff, right? Using this Agile stuff. And most of us would say, just use Scrum and Agile. That's all you need. Well, that wasn't the right answer. And so, in today's world, to deal with a lot of those nightmares, we have several scaling frameworks that exist. Now, I'm going to say this to you because I need you all to take this journey with me. Today is not the day to bash any framework. Today is not the day to talk really negative about any framework. I firmly believe that all these frameworks have value and they've all had some success. I also believe that there's probably very few organizations that can implement any of these frameworks word for word with perfection. Okay. And when you don't do these things to perfection, the claim is always they skip things. So let's just put all that negative stuff to the side. Okay. And what I want to kind of roll through is my decision tree. My decision tree. Now, I say my decision tree for a reason because when I think about walking into an organization, there is a way that I think about the possibilities of scaling, the possibilities of scaling. So, what I've done here is I've done like we did last week, and I've kind of created a small deck for us to run through. So let me go ahead and just kind of cue that up for us. So then we can all just kind of work through this thing, right? So it's probably going to show this screen first because I didn't click it up or cue it up like I was supposed to. But let's go ahead and go to my other display, okay? And what you see is you see scaling frameworks that crush nightmares, right? This is episode 19. But let's talk about it a little bit more. Let's talk about it a little bit more here. First and foremost, what I want you to understand is something really, really simple. I'm going to have to show my navigator here, right? Usually for me, one of the very first questions that I have to make sure is relevant to the organization is probably how proficient they are with Scrum. And it's really a yes or no related to that. Are they proficient with Scrum? Are they really going to keep Scrum around? Scrum, Kanban, just, extreme programming, those classic things that we utilize. But I'm just balling all those things up into Scrum, right? So the first question that I ask myself is, are they proficient in Scrum? Are they planning to be proficient in Scrum? Are they planning to make more improvements in terms of Scrum, Kanban, extreme programming, those kind of things, right? Well, here's the deal. If there is not a Scrum focus, let's just say the answer to that is a resounding no. It's a no. Then probably the framework that I'm going to lean toward will be the discipline agile. DA, you'll see it for short, right? Discipline agile is what I would lean toward. Now, why would I lean toward discipline agile? It isn't complicated. The first thing that I want to point out to you is that on each one of these slides, I'm providing you the web address where you can go get more information. And if you look at this email address, you will notice PMI in that email address. Okay? This framework is highly associated with PMI. It existed prior to its association, but it's highly associated with PMI. You look on the right hand side of the slide and you see the picture. Everybody has a picture of what that framework looks like. Now, if I boil down Discipline Agile to what it basically is, it's a toolkit that harnesses any and every Agile practice that you decide to use, right? It's there to guide you in the best way of working for your teams or organizations. So it is agnostic of a set of practices put together that we would classically call a framework. It is agnostic of that. Okay. It doesn't really care for that. It says, okay, let's take these agile practices. Let's take whatever agile practices that work for us and let's move forward from there. Now, the thing about Discipline Agile is that there is a focus on the full delivery cycle. Now, when I say the full delivery cycle, I am not only talking about IT. Now hear me when I say this to you, right? I am not only talking about IT. And that's really important for you all to understand and to know, okay? Now, yeah, it's for large, well-established organizations. That's true. And one of the things I like about it is that there are four layers here. At the base level is the foundation, and then you have a focus on the value stream. And then there is a focus on DevOps, and there's also a focus on the enterprise. So you got enterprise, you got the value stream, you got DevOps, and then you have foundational stuff, right? And these layers all attack things, right? And if I was to point you toward the actual enterprise level, legal, vendor management, finance, transformation, asset management, IT, people management, enterprise architecture are things that we do not always talk about. Are things that we do not always talk about. Okay? And this incorporates aspects of that and pulls all these practices as a way for you to pick and choose what's going to best work for you. Now, obviously, there's foundational stuff that you got to deal with. There's obviously classes associated with every one of these things. But my question for you all is here is, have any of you actually done Discipline Agile? Any of you all associated with it? Have you looked into it? Have you seen it as a viable way to actually scale? That's my real question to you. Have you seen Discipline Agile as a viable way to scale? If you have, drop me something in the chat, right? You've seen it used on the ground. You've seen its success. Talk to me about it on it. I have not. I know about it because I like to learn about things, right? But the idea is, have you seen it out in the wild, out in the real world? You feel me? If you have, that's amazing. That's a really, really good thing. Okay? Now, here's the deal. Let's take this a step further. Let's take this a step further, right? Because we have another question that I classically would want to deal with. And that question is, are you dealing with one product? Are you dealing with one product? You got to ask yourself this question, because this is probably going to help you make a decision. Well, it actually helps me make a decision, okay? And maybe this can be helpful for you. So here's the deal. If you're dealing with one product, I don't care if that one product has up to 8 teams or thousands of people. If your answer is yes to that, then probably your next choice is going to be large scale Scrum, or what people call less. Now, I do believe in the timing of things. Less was around before the Scaled Agile, before SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework, right? But less is a little bit different. And I remember going to a class and learning about less, and was quite impressed with less. I mean, really quite impressed with less. You see here, I have the website. So if you want to go learn more information, go to less.works. But this is a customer-centric approach that focuses on teams reaching the same purpose using Scrum. there's a huge focus on collaboration here around whatever that complex thing you're trying to solve. Okay. It deals with complexity, and it deals with complexity in a super amazing way. Because with less, there's a focus on systems thinking at its core, looking at things systemically all through the value stream, right? Because you're focused on that one product, you're focused on delivery. Now, with less, there's two versions of it. There's a less for 8 teams or less, and then there's a less that's less this they call less huge, which is for thousands of people. But the focus is on one product. And I want you to really, really understand and know that could you do multiple less within products? You have different products and you do less on each one. You absolutely can, right? So you can do that, but just understand there is a one product focus with less. Okay. But I like less. I found it to be what I am going to call, and this is not a bad term. I found less to be hyper focused on the value stream, like for real, like at the core, getting better at that core, right, of what it takes to deliver, right? And again, there's customer centricness there, but the idea is that with less is that one product focus is what you got to remember. So if you trying to scale, you got this one product, less might be an amazing answer for you, right? Have any of you all in here ever used less, seen it in action? Now, less I've seen in action. I've seen in action. Okay. Excellent, excellent, right? Um, you know, just a beautiful thing, right? I've seen it at work, a beautiful thing, right? But it's not for the lighthearted. I'm gonna say it to you. It's not for the lighthearted. But I really, really like less. I do. I do like less, right? I like this. I like discipline agile too, right? I mean, I really like these things, right? I think they solve problems for people, right? Regardless of all the negative things that we tend to say, I think they really do solve problems. But that's not where we're at, right? We're not done, right? Because there's the other side of that answer, right? And the other side is what happens if your answer to that question of one product is no? If your answer to that one product question is no, then we got another question. And that question is, are you looking for more flexibility or less flexibility when it comes to your approach? Understand that statement. Are you looking at trying to have more flexibility or less flexibility when it comes to the approach, right? If your answer is you want more flexibility and your answer is yes to that, then I would recommend to you Scrum at Scale. Scrum at Scale. Now, Scrum at Scale, again, go to scrumatscale.com if you want to learn more information. But think about Scrum at Scale as an extension of Scrum. That is team-centric approach toward, building teams of teams, like literally building teams of teams. If you're trying to be close to what Scrum actually is, this right here is as close as you are going to get. Period. Period. This is truly an extension of Scrum. The reason why it's an extension of Scrum is because Jeff Sutherland created it. Who invented Scrum? Jeff Sutherland, right? So there's that marriage that exists between those two. This is really focused on helping networks of Scrum teams prioritize value. Networks of Scrum teams prioritize value, prioritize their goals, right? Um, this is the least prescriptive of all these ways of scaling, right? Of all of them, right? This is the least prescriptive. And I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it, right? And again, I've experienced this one as well. I've work with Jeff Beard Eagles, work closely with Jeff. Lizzie is certified in this. But one of the things that establishes, which I absolutely love in terms of scale at Scrum, so SOS in terms of scale at Scrum, what I love here is the fact that you end up creating a value-driven culture, a culture that is focused on value creation, super lightweight, not a bunch of heaviness. But when you start getting more and more teams, guess what, people? Guess what starts to happen? You start in creating scrum of scrums. You got to have other metrics for transparency. You got to have a way to get the product owners together. So you're going to see these kind of things as a part of that, but it's still at its very core focus is Scrum. Yeah, you got the side that you deal with the Scrum Master cycle. Yeah, you got the product owner cycle, but at its very core is Scrum, right? So my question for you all is, have you all seen Scrum at Scale? Have you all seen Scrum at Scale? Anybody in here seen it? Just let me know. What did you think about it? What did you actually think about it? Very, very important. I love it. I absolutely love it. I've been around it, so I think that one's a real good one. Now, we're not done there, right? We're not done at all. Let's continue this journey because there's the other side of this decision tree, right? The other side of this decision tree is, what if your flexibility in terms of your approach, what if the answer to that is no? This is where I'm definitely going to lean you toward SAFe, the Scaled Agile Framework. Definitely want to lean you in that direction, right? And here's the deal, um, these are all relative to each other, right? You want more information? Go to scaleagileframework.com, right? What Scale Agile Framework is a set of organizational and workflow patterns for implementing agile practices at the enterprise level. At the enterprise scale is what you're doing there. Okay? That's what you're doing. But here's the deal. Because people think SAFe is this monolith, and it really isn't. Maybe it began that way as truly a monolith, right? But SAFe has four different configurations: the essential SAFe, large solution SAFe, portfolio SAFe, and full scale SAFe. Full scale SAFe. The question is, what do you need to do? You may not need full scale SAFe. So, in terms of flexibility, there's some flexibility in that. But is there as much flexibility as you get in the scale to Scrum? No, not even close. The thing about this is it adds layers of management and coordination to help you build complex solutions, right? Discipline Agile goes real deep in terms of enterprise stuff, right? But the enterprise stuff here is definitely focused on the tenets of what it takes to deliver, right? So you're gonna do some portfolio stuff, and it's just gonna be different kinds of things you're gonna do here, right? Um, Usually teams here are synchronized around agile release trains, which classically are from 8 to 12 weeks long. Okay, classically from 8 to 12 weeks long is what you're going to see. And this is more about enterprise level adoption. When you look at something like Scrum at Scale, organizations can scale at their pace, right? But this is more about enterprise level adoption. Okay, so definitely there's a bigger learning curve here. But is it working for organizations? Absolutely. And I don't think there's anybody, matter of fact, I would guarantee you, unless you ain't been around Scrum at all, I would guarantee you there's not a single person here that doesn't know about Scaled Agile Framework. They hasn't heard about it, right? You may not have done it, but you've heard about it. You've thought about maybe getting a certification in it or whatever, right? So that being said, these are really, when I think about my decision tree as a consultant, those are the things that I think about in terms of what I would recommend to an organization. What would I recommend to an organization? Because here's the deal. I want you to use this decision tree that I just gave you as a guide. Just know other frameworks exist. I didn't talk about Nexus. I didn't talk about other things that exist. But here's the deal. Here's what I'm thinking. Next week, I'm thinking that we should talk about some of those practices that you have to deal with when you got to scale, right? Because I'm used to scaling without any frameworks at all, without any frameworks existing at all, right? And I think those are things that we can talk about next week. So I'm going to put that on the calendar for us next week. That being said, you know, this was a good topic. I actually enjoyed this topic. I enjoyed thinking through that decision tree about how I normally think about things, and I did that years ago. But it's one of those things when you learn about it, then you figure out what's the difference between this one and that one and this one. Okay. Now here's the deal, y'all. I didn't say this, but if you're new to this, what I want you to do, subscribe. If you like this content, I want you to click that like button, right? Um, it's going to help us with the algorithms and everything else, right? So make sure you like and you subscribe if you haven't done that so just yet. On that note, that's our topic for today. That's our topic for today. I mean, scaling is really, really important. I always have people ask me about if I do certain classes, and I stay foundational for most people. But it's useful. It's very useful. Don't go out here and get every certification on the planet. Kind of, figure out a direction you want to move forward in. If you like one in a particular way, maybe you want to get certified in that, become an expert at that, right? And then you have people that call you when they need that particular service, right? But just don't become a jack of all trades, right? If you want to get specific with one of these, get super hyper focused with it, and you'll make good money that way. On that note, hey, good topic, y'all. Good topic, good topic, good topic. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna do what I normally do, and I am going to open up for questions, right? You know how it goes. There's nothing surprising about it. I'm gonna go ahead and drop you with the link just in case you want to join the show. But please, 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 this is the time for you to drop questions that you may have in the chat. In the chat, okay? Questions that you may have, time to drop them in the chat, y'all. So you want to do that? That'd be good thing, right? Other than that, let me say hi to everybody. If you didn't say hi to me, you should have said hi, like we normally would do. But what questions do you have that is associated? Hmm. So we're already getting questions. So let's start talking about it, right? Let's start talking about it. First question that I see here. Let me move some stuff out the way so we're good to go. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. All right. First question I see. Really simple question. Other than PI planning and safe, are there any differences between Scrum and safe? Well, no. At the base of safe is Scrum. Extreme programming Kanban. At the base of safe, you're going to find Scrum in there, right? A safe has a safe Scrum Master. So Scrum is a part of safe. So we can say that all safe is Scrum, but all Scrum is not safe. You understand? I mean, so every element of Scrum is not safe, right? But safe does have Scrum incorporated in it. So realistically, you know, it's just that way. So it's super, super easy answer. And Scrum doesn't have PI planning. There's no PI planning in Scrum. There's no PI planning, right? If I was to go back and just let me see if I can just make this really big. If I was just to take this thing and make it really big and just create another slide real quick and just make this big for the sake of it, what you're gonna see here, a lot of stuff here, right? But you look and you see safe Scrum right here. Anybody's familiar with Scrum, know that this is basically a classic Scrum picture right here. So Safe has Scrum in it, but Scrum doesn't have all these other things that exist here. It doesn't, right? Yeah, you can be doing DevOps, but what if you're not working in IT on stuff, right? I use Scrum for my workout routine. Am I using DevOps? No, no, not at all. Am I using Lean UX? No. Decision thinking, design thinking? No. Do I have release trains? No. Am I doing portfolio, strategic things? No, 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 no. So as stated, there's huge differences between the two. But as stated, Black Coffee, um, when it comes to Scrum, there's tons of differences. Scrum is foundational. Um, the fundamentals of that are incorporated into Safe. Okay. Does that help you? Right? So don't get it twisted. Scrum doesn't have all that stuff. And when you think about Scrum, as I tell people in class, you need to just understand that all Scrum is a time box plan that you evaluate daily. You learn about the product, you learn about the process, and you do it again. That's all Scrum really is. It is nothing really more than just that at its core. Okay. Um, so it just is what it is. Yeah. Other questions. So hopefully that was helpful, Black Coffee. Hopefully that was helpful. Um, yeah, and there's no need of confusing it. Um, Dean Leffingwell created Safe, and he really solved a real problem. He really solved a real problem that organizations were really, really having. They wanted a map on how to deal with things, and he provided them with the map. He'd already been writing scaling books prior to that, but this gave a simple picture, a real simple map. So nothing crazy. I bought these things for the videos, y'all. See that craziness? Oh, that's funny. Whoa, don't fall. So we can actually have fun with it, right? I even got a little hat too. I'll wear that at some point. So yeah, so anyway, back to the topic here. Questions that you have, drop them in the chat. Or y'all saying y'all don't want to talk to me today? Or y'all don't have no questions? You trying to tell me you don't have no questions? You telling me to just shut it down, go on your way, Devon? We don't really care about you no more? Hmm? Mm-hmm. So what questions do you have? Any questions that you have? Yeah, no, this was I'm really glad that I was able to sit down and think through that decision tree that I normally think to myself, right? Because one of the biggest reasons why I think about like less is thinking about one product, right? Um, because classically a lot of people when they think about less, they think about it being associated with a startup, for example. And normally startups have one product, right? And so, and the way I delineated it out is, you know, that that one product deal. How do you deal with that, right? So let's see. We got another question here, right? If someone wanted to learn more about scaling in general to apply Scrum to other areas, what are what are we to study and understand? I think if you was to look at what I just gave you, you have the four most popular scaling frameworks that exist in this presentation, right? So the websites that I provided you with, I think you go to those websites and start off by just reading what the website has. And you can, there's so much information out there that's free. You can go out there and just start consuming that information. So if you literally just go to pmi.org, discipline agile, right? That you just go there. There's tons of information. Let me take this off, right? There's tons of information about it, right? And I guarantee you, you're not going to be done reading all that information in one day, right? At least if you read it for the sake of you trying to utilize it and you're not just reading it for the sake of reading it, right? When it comes to a large scale Scrum, less dot works. You go there. All the information you need, tons of information, right? You go here, Scale of Scrum. This dude got case studies and everything else right on the website, right? And then you go to the SAFe website, same thing, Scaled Agile Framework. You do these things and you will have all the information that you need in order to begin that journey. I'm not saying, note, please note, I am not asking you to go get a certification. I am not saying to you, hey, go get certified. I'm not asking you to spend no money, right? I don't recommend you go spend any money. That's not my recommendation at all. If you want to learn more, start by going to the resources that I've provided. I've grabbed these resources and taken you straight to the people who created it or who's managing it, who's changing it for the future, who's going to evolve it. I'm taking you to them, right? And they make sure that they keep that thing updated. They make sure they keep the thing updated. If they keep it updated, then guess what? The latest, greatest information that you're going to get is from them. If you think about SAFe, for example, SAFe is on version 6.0, 6.0, and there's normally incremental releases along the way. So there's 6.0, which means there's been 6 big releases of SAFe. So they're always doing these little updates and a big update every once in a while, right? So as Patrick says, being updated daily, lots of good information there. Yeah, all those sites got amazing information. Every single one of them has a whole slew of amazing information, And there's no reason for you to think to yourself that, something else is going to happen. Realistically, all you got to do is just go straight to those sites and you'll be good to go. Don't sit up here and go spend tons of money. Now, if you so decide that you love one of these frameworks, the next thing that I would recommend that you do is go to see if anybody's looking for people to hire with those certifications. Again, don't sit up there and say, I love this framework, I'm going to go do it. Now, if you just learning just to be learning, then by all means do that. But I ain't talking about that, right? I'm not talking about that. I'm thinking that you need to make some money. That's what I'm thinking. And if you doing this to make some money, then you want to make sure that you research, especially if you go something outside of SAFe. I mean, literally, probably 40% of organizations out here using SAFe, right? If you're doing something outside of SAFe, then guess what? You probably want to make sure that people are looking for those kind of certifications. Because if they're not looking for those certifications, you spend that moolah, then guess what? You out if nobody's looking for it, right? So just make sure there's a pool for it. Just make sure there's a pool for it is my point, right? Other questions that you all have. In general, I don't know why. I don't know why you would go get with the access that we have to the internet today. Just hear me out. With the access that we have to the internet today, I do not understand why you would get any certification that's not that people aren't looking for. Like, I don't understand why you would do that unless it's something you just want to learn, right? So be careful. Be really careful. Be careful. Please, 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 please. Let's see. If you already have SAFe certification before 6.0, do you need to take another SAFe examination? I don't know the answer to that. I would assume that the answer to that, I can't assume. I don't know. I don't know, right? I'm not certified to provide SAFe certifications. Anybody in here know the answer to that? My assumption is that the answer to that is no, you don't have to take the examination again. I don't know anybody that's taking the examination every time they have to go up, unless you super special and got a higher level certification. But I do believe that you got to have continuing education. I do believe that you got to have continuing education, right? And so it's one of those things where you say to yourself, hey, let me see. Here we go. Patrick says if you have 5.1 cert, you only need to go through the updated content on the site to get the upgrade. There you go. So you do got to upgrade. I can't say that you got to take the test, but I would say go to them to ask them. Go to them to ask them, right? Um, you know, I'm not safe certified, right? I was going to become safe certified in 2014, and then I had to go deal with a client, which just kind of took it all out. I wasn't able to go. I had to let somebody else go, right? So that being said, and Patrick offers some other good information here. Here's the deal. There are tons of communities out here. There are tons of communities out here that are excited about each of these frameworks. There are tons of communities. Like, I would assume the biggest one is going to be safe, no question, right? But every one of those frameworks that I provided you has a contingent of experts and people really, really, really super excited. And as Patrick says here, they got all the knowledge. They want to incorporate lessons learned. They want to just do a good job at improving the ways that we work. That's really what they want to do, and they're excited about that. And they would sit up there and talk to you all dang on day about it. But you got to go seek that knowledge out. And if you're not a little lamp running around seeking knowledge, then you got a problem. You got to seek knowledge, man. You got to go out there and seek to get as much knowledge as you possibly can. As much knowledge as you can, right? And the good thing is that a lot of this knowledge is free. You do not have to pay anybody to get all this knowledge. You want to make sure that you kind of get yourself in a re-up position when you want to go ahead and take advantage of the money aspect of it by getting a certification. You need a certification probably when you want to make some money off this stuff, right? But before that, go learn as much as you want to. It's available for you. There's no reason why you just can't go out there and get as much knowledge as you want to. For real. So it's just going to be a really, really amazing thing, right? So just go out there and get it. Go out there and get it as much as you can, right? Get as much as you can. Get as much as you can. Seriously. Other questions that you all may have. Anyone with any questions remaining here? Yeah, I thought people was gonna beat me down on this topic. Like, this topic right here is one where it's people sitting in different camps and they are uh, religious about their camps. They're religious about their camps, right? It's either my way or the highway. That's how religious they are, right? And so it's like, okay, they really religious about it. Okay, we gonna fight over words now. No, I'm not connected to anything like that. Or at least I never want to be. I never try to be. I never ask to be anything remotely close to that. Does that make sense? So realistically, you just gotta move forward and learn this stuff, right? Right? You learn it, you learn it, you're gonna be in a much better position. Especially a consultant like me, for example, I go in an organization not thinking that I'm coming in with a solution for them. I'm trying to find the best solution, and I start off with the foundational stuff first, and then we figure out what we need to build on top of that and how we need to adjust or configure things to work for them in the best way possible. That makes sense? So don't be crazy with it. Just start getting into it, right? But understand, if you know all these different frameworks, if you just know these four, when you walk into an organization, you got this to offer them. Does that make sense? You got this to offer them, right? I think to myself, like, okay, I walk in an organization that's using safe. I already know safe ain't the problem. I already know it's their culture that's the problem. I know this already. But now we need to back up and get back to the foundational stuff, right? We need to get back to the foundational stuff, right? And then maybe safe isn't the choice. But it's not that it's not the choice, is the point, right? It's not that it's not the choice. Make sense? So really, really amazing. Okay. Really, really great when you start thinking about it. And yes, the toolbox. It's a tool that's in the toolbox. I think of Scrum the same way. It's a tool in the toolbox. Is Scrum the answer for everything? No, we know that that's not the case. I've never even preached that to any of you all here, right? Um, yeah, Patrick says here, I believe you can only get a cert if you have to pay to get more knowledge through a formal class, right? That way you get the validation and you cash in. Absolutely. Only get those certs if you're trying to cash in, right? If you ain't trying to cash in, I don't understand. But I mean, you may be rich. Let me not discriminate. You may be rich and just got the money to blow. If you got the money to blow, then blow it. Blow it. Have fun blowing it too. Matter of fact, throw some my way. I can help you blow it too. But probably blow it in a more responsible way. It's probably what I'm gonna do. Just so you know. So, other questions that you all have, other questions, other questions, right? How's y'all week been? How things going with you? As you know, I've been busy, and I got a paper due this week. Big paper too, and it's not that big, 10 pages. I better knock it out in a day or two. But it's due on Wednesday, so I'm gonna start it tonight in some kind of way. I'm definitely gonna start it tonight in some kind of way. Okay. Other questions, y'all. Other questions. Let's see. The camps forgot that the most important thing about Agile is the ability to adapt. Yes, agreed. Not to be welded to rules if they don't apply to the context. I agree with that 1,000%, and most organizations don't get that. They don't get that at all. They are still trying to even take Scrum and make everybody in the organization look exactly the same, and that ain't where it's at. That's not where it's at, right? A lot of times I'm preaching feedback, 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 flexibility, 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 right? Automatically going to organizations. Please understand that at the team level, everybody's not going to be exactly the same. And it's just a constant mantra, 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 right? Constant mantra, constant mantra, just again and again and again. That makes sense? So yeah, don't be hard on yourselves about this stuff, but it's an amazing good thing. Yeah, I'm good. So anyway, back to the topic. Any other questions, y'all? Because there's no more questions, we may end early tonight. We may end early. Any other questions? Yeah, no, I've had fun with this. I've had fun with this topic. Um, but next week we'll pull out some of those general practices that are classically dealt with in scaling, and we will deal with that. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that for sure. Okay. How do you avoid what? How do you avoid that? What would be a guide to make sure that you are not trying to apply Scrum where it doesn't need to be? Um, what I would say do, especially as a younger Scrum Master, is keep the Scrum guide next to you and read it every day until you beat it to your head that you don't have to make everybody look the same. So with me, I try to keep the Scrum guide. I try to keep the Scrum guide close as a reminder. I try to make sure that the Agile values are somewhere visible as well as a reminder. So between the Agile values and principles and the Scrum guide, I'm normally able to keep myself honest. Okay. And you just want to find a way that works for you to keep yourself honest. That's it. That's what I want you to be. That's what I want you to be able to do. So you can do that. And my trick is the Scrum Guide and the Agile Manifesto. Those together and reading those whenever I'm losing my compass helps me to stay on a narrow path. Okay. That's what I do. Right. So really, really simple thing. Um, and sometimes to me, it's just looking at one or two values, you know, um, on the actual Agile Manifesto, and I can click right into it. I can really click back, right? Just in a moment, a break away from the team. I got 15 minutes. Let me look at this real quick because I something ain't right, you know. And if you do that on a regular basis, you'll be good to go. You'll be real good to go. Okay. Other questions, y'all? Any other questions? Okay. All right, y'all. Then we're gonna just start to shut it down, right? Because I think we're good to go. So we can just start to shut it down, right? So here's the deal. Next week, we're gonna go ahead and talk about practices. Those typical scaling practices that you might see that you'll have to deal with likely in all these frameworks. All these frameworks would likely deal with some of these things, and they will go across all four of these to some degree. You'll run into them. So, on that note, I'm going to say to you all, it has been a pleasure, and we will continue this journey. We will continue this journey, right? And we'll just continue this journey and make it happen. Other than that, I'm going to thank everybody for showing up. And then next week, we can just have more fun. So, other than that, enjoy your week, and I'll see you next week, okay? Y'all have a good one. Peace, everybody.